Growth Network, and this is my backyard gardening channel. I want to go ahead and show you a couple things. I'm going to do a little bit of like harvesting today, but this right here is a basil plant, and you're like, whoa, what happened? It started out as two little leaves, and it just got bushier and bushier and bushier. So let me go ahead and bring you a little bit closer, let you see what is going on and kind of like what's happening. So one of the things that I did was I went ahead and took off all of there is if it goes to seed, it starts to go to seed, you pinch it off and you take it off of there and you let it go. When it does that, it puts all the energy back into the leaves and it creates more leaves. So I have a whole bunch of basil. I'm going to take a lot of the leaves off so the little leaves can continue to grow. I'm going to put this in a container. This container has like holes in it, and I'm going to let it just dry on my counter because I use all of these herbs for the fall to make sure that I am ready to rock and roll this year. So let me go ahead and start pulling these off. While I'm doing this, let me tell you a little bit about my herbs that I have out here. Of course, I have the basil. This is like a kind of like a licorice tasting basil. My son is growing lemon basil, which I absolutely love. We put it in Italian food and all kinds of fun stuff. I only am taking the big leaves off of here because again, I want the little leaves to continue to grow. So I'm just pulling them off and I just let them, I put them in this little container and make sure that I have them. It is a great chance to really maximize the amount of herbs that you get. Obviously, you guys have seen videos previously of my amazing rosemary plant. She looks beautiful. She's about almost 3.5 feet across. She gets a haircut about twice a season, and that takes about 6 inches off. And so at that point, I let those dry. I mix those up with dried oregano, which I'm going to do oregano in a little bit. And then I also have this on here. It is going to be fantastic. And then I dry this and put it in there. And it allows for me to make what I call a potato spice. The potato spices is I take roasted potatoes, rosemary, basil, and oregano, and then lemon powder, onion powder, and a little bit of salt. And then add a little oil, cube those potatoes, and then roast them. And they turn into a fantastic meal with chicken and all kinds of great stuff that you can grill. I marinate chicken, and then we have roasted potatoes with that. Or anybody that has a steak, oh my gosh, if you have a good steak, telling you what, steak and roasted potatoes is absolutely phenomenal. I am in Oklahoma, so summer's still here. We have not gotten our cool temperatures. I hear a rumor that we're going to get cool temperatures next week. Sometimes I think they lie. I'll just be honest with you. Why? Because every time they say that, we're like, fourth summer. It's kind of crazy. I'm thinking, of course, about all the people that are in Florida. I have a real good friend that actually is in the path of the hurricane. And so, and of course, I have friends that were in South Carolina in that area. And so please keep all of them in your thoughts and prayers. Next year, I'm going to let my youngest son, grow his own basil patch because he really likes it. He has a plant on his windowsill. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to let him have his own little garden and get him started on that because he can be my basil grower. I think it'll be great. The other part that's going to be fantastic is I'm taking care of someone's house, and I can't wait to see their garden and see what's over there and see if there's anything interesting. Because when people are gone, I'm like, hey, it's a thing. You got to take care of their stuff. If there's stuff that's already too ripe, you don't want it to go to waste, right? You don't want it to go to waste. That's no fun for anybody. Notice my plant's getting a little thinner. That is okay. Why? Because, again, the energy will go back into making more leaves, which I love. At some point coming up soon, I will let this thing go to seed. Why? Because I will save seeds for next year. So what happens is in about probably 3-4 weeks, because when we get to around November 1st is our first freeze, I will let this thing go to seed. Then all of my little purple things, I just let it go, and then let the plant do its thing, and it will allow it to go ahead and get ready for next year. Then I'll save those seeds, hold on to them. I put the date on them so I know when I got them. And then I plant them next year, and then it becomes the second generation of the seeds. And the reason I like that is they are in my area, they're in my climate, and they already know about the weather. They know about some of the extremes. They've been through one cycle, one generation of doing it, and then it allows for them to know kind of what they're getting into next time. They become more resilient. They know their way around Oklahoma, and so then they become second, third, fourth generation. My tomato plants are that way. My tomato plants, this is their second generation. I did save some tomato seeds for this year for next year, so I will do that again to make sure I have them, because then it will be the third generation of tomato plants. And every year they add a little bit of resistance, and they add a little bit more, and they create a little bit more, and it is fantastic. So hopefully, again, I'm able to kind of get these where I want them to be. And again, you can see on this side, it's a little thinner than when I first showed it to you, because I picked that side. I'm going to pick this top side and down here. And again, I can be a little bit aggressive. You don't have to be super delicate with all the plants. I used to be that way. I used to be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to hurt the leaves or whatever. Then I'm like, nope, never mind. The leaves are fine. They can handle it. Then I saw people like handle their plants, and I thought, dear God, what are you doing to your plants? Maybe it's because I talk to them. I do. I come out here and I talk to my plants. I think most gardeners do, and if you don't, I think you lie and don't tell the truth. I think a lot of people are out here talking to plants. Why? Because they don't talk back, and I've got 2 preteens. And if you don't have preteens, let me just tell you, they like to talk back. They like to say things, and I'm like, listen, y'all, remember, I can go talk to plants. They don't talk back, and they produce food. So I'm just saying, don't get cute, kiddos. So, but it's super fun. I do love gardening, and I'm learning. I mean, this soil I have back here is terrible, like truly bad. It's like clay. I had a couple years ago, I had no grass back here, which I should have like taken an opportunity at that time to make sure I build all my raised beds. I'm beginning to do that, thinking about what this is going to look like, where I'm going to put a fire pit, some things like that, just making my backyard an oasis. Uniquely, I had a back fence, and it blew away. It blew away because it was in a tornado, and so ultimately they're rebuilding that fence. So I have nothing but bareness back here. Hopefully at some point I will get that fence built, and then I can go ahead and start designing what I want to put in front of it. Because I just look at it as they cleaned out everything. They took down a bunch of trees back there, which I'm a little sad because I miss the shade. And one of them was a big mulberry tree. Luckily for me, I've got 3 other mulberry trees. So if you don't know, mulberries grow really well in Oklahoma. They can be really messy, but they taste delicious. So ultimately, I love me a couple mulberries. It's great for everything. So yeah, this little plant is doing pretty well. After I get done doing this one, I'll probably go in, grab another container, and then I'll do the oregano. So if you get a little bit of a quiet glimpse of watching the plant, I may do that when I go inside and get that for a second. So let me go ahead and get these other big leaves off of here, because again, I don't want to take too much. I want to make sure that it has plenty of food to eat, and it can create more leaves, because again, I'll need them. I have about this much. When you look at it, it's a couple cups, and once it dries down, it'll be a little less than that. So again, the smell of it is fantastic. I mean, seriously, basil's amazing. If you can put it with some mozzarella, some fresh tomatoes, you got yourself a deal. Oh, like I said, it's summertime. On cue, there is our air conditioner. Just to let you know, it's almost 90 degrees today, which is wildness, just craziness. So let me go ahead and let you stay here with my plant and keep her company. Make sure she doesn't get up and walk away, and I'll be right back. I'm going to go get another container, and I will switch plants, and then we'll do our oregano. Oregano I love because I use it in Mexican cooking. We can put it with a bunch of fajitas, and you add that with limes and lemons and just amazing flavors. Create some incredible marinades and then add a little bit of a spice to it. I can't add too much spice because I can only handle so much, and my wife is not. as a Latina, she's not super into spicy food, but we try. We try. There's all kinds of things happening. If you've watched my videos the last couple of days, you've seen my bell pepper harvest. So I kind of feel like the earth is trying to tell me to cook fajitas. So let me just leave you with a vision of sizzling fajitas off a grill. So I'll be right back, and it'll be only a couple minutes, and I will switch out these plants, and we'll start picking some oregano. I am back, and let me go ahead and switch out the plants real quick, put these down. And just to show you, again, my oregano plant started out just as a little bitty plant. Did not have a ton of that, but then look what happened. It's like a wild one. It went crazy and I left it. It's got some seeds that I'm gonna leave on this one because I wanted more of it. This one, when I harvest it, it's gonna be a little bit different in that I'm going to go ahead and give it a haircut. I want to leave one side. This side is all seeds, so I'm gonna leave that here. This one, if the leaves come out, it doesn't hurt it, but some of the other places, I have a lot more. I don't want to pull the leaves off yet. I'm just gonna let it dry. We're gonna see what happens. So I'm gonna cut probably about 2-3 inches off of each branch. So again, it has room to regrow, but I want to give it a little bit of a haircut to make sure that it's a little smaller, not quite so wild. The smell of it, ooh, it's super earthy, it's incredible, and it's gonna be fantastic when I put it in food. So again, this is a little bit quicker because I'm just giving it a little bit of a cut. I will let it dry and then I'll remove it and let it grind it up and put it where it needs to go. But yes, it's getting a little bit of a haircut, which is fantastic. The smell is wonderful. I won't say that my oregano has a mullet, but it might, because it looks like it's all coiffed in the front and party in the back. I'm just saying, I might have an Oklahoma mullet version of oregano, but it's pretty. It's got all this prettiness in the back. That's pretty right there. There we go. There we go. And I think what I'll do next is I will go ahead and get my big container, and then I will give my rosemary a little bit of a cut. So I want to make sure that she has it, and I'll bring you guys over to her. I need to give her the rest of the cut today because I want to get it drying, because if I can get that drying, then of course it goes on potatoes and inside. Oh, also all this goes great in stuffing. So if you're thinking about like turkeys and all of that, you can slide oregano, you can slide basil. I have a sage plant over there that I put in the ground this year because it was so compact in the pot itself that the root ball was getting very, very strong. And so I really needed to get it where I have more space. So I put it in the ground. So this year I'm going to get a little bit off of it, which is fine because I have plenty of sage from last year. But I figure next year, once it taps into everything under the ground, it's going to hit something and think it's fantastic. And then at that point, sage plant is going to go big like this one, and then I'll be able to have sage for all year long. Again, I don't buy these herbs. These herbs, I don't buy them at all during the year. So every time that I go and I harvest these, I am gaining money from that. It's actually saving me money. The plants were very little. I bought them maybe for $1 or $2. And then I just keep harvesting and keep harvesting. If I save seeds, then I don't pay for the plants the next year. So again, it's about sustainability. It's about the chance for me to make sure I know what I'm doing, and I'm learning each year what I need to do. I add some fertilizer, I water it regularly. Of course, I chat with my herbs and my plants to make sure that they feel loved and cared for. And my backyard is kind of like a little food oasis. I don't spray anything on my yard, like nothing gets sprayed. The reason I don't is I want my kids to be able to come out here and grab something and snack on it. And if they do, I want them to be safe. So if they grab a dandelion and want to eat the dandelion, I want them to be able to do that and not get sick. Also, if I'm planting something in the ground, I want to make sure that that thing is pulling whatever's in the ground and not other items. I did have to take quite a bit of plastic out of the yard because of the fact that we had a tornado that shattered a plastic fence. So I have been constantly picking stuff up, throwing it away, and getting it all back in order again. This has been a big part of kind of my rehabilitation of my yard and everything that I'm doing. So I am like really excited about what's coming up next, because of course the next year I get to plant my garden again. I'm gonna go through and look at what I did well and what I didn't, and when I do, I'll make sure that you guys are on that. Why? Because this is my backyard gardening channel on my network. So if you love gardening, it is a great opportunity for you to check out from the very beginning of this year. What I planted my tomatoes when they were really little and as they grew up, and all the things that go with them. It is a fantastic opportunity to just kind of watch a garden and understand that I make terrible mistakes. I make things that do really good and things that are terrible. And I am going to tell you when I screw up, because I think that's an important part of gardening, is that it's not perfect. We all make mistakes. Things die. You do bad things sometimes, and it just shows up in your garden. So you're like, oops, I killed it. So let me go ahead and get my other bin, and then we'll go ahead and go over and we'll trim up rosemary. Hello, let's go ahead and get started. So now let me show you the rosemary plant real quick. This one's a little bit different. And then again, look, it is literally 3.5 feet tall. So it is 3.5 feet tall. It's about 3.5 feet wide. You can see that on this side, it got a little bit of a haircut. See that? So I'm going to try and trim it a little bit more. I want to go ahead and do that. I'll put you guys in the shade and let you see me do that. Let me go ahead and put this down. Here you go. So again, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a little bit of a haircut. When I do, I'm going to put it in this big old bowl and then let it dry. And I let it dry for a long time, and then my son and I sit down and we go ahead and get these all chopped up. And And I just take it and maybe 5-6 inches and just trim it. It's literally like giving it a haircut. Your hands smell good. The only thing that's a little bit different is it is pretty sticky. So if you, I mean, it gets sappy. You cut it down the middle. Give it a little bit of a haircut. The smell is very much like pine trees, which I love. But again, if I don't get this now and it gets to winter, one of the things that happens with rosemary that's a little bit different is it stresses out. So when it's stressed, it turns a purple color. Doesn't mean that it's bad. It will come back. It'll be green the next year. But in the winter time, you will see it turn purple. So people get really scared. They get really nervous. They're like, oh no, I killed it. No, you didn't. It's just stressed. Give it a little bit of time. Let the sun come out. And then it will be much nicer in the spring. Again, I water this on a pretty regular basis. Make sure that it gets a little bit of a haircut. And again, I don't buy rosemary. I share rosemary. I have it from all over the place. Give it a little bit of a haircut. And again, I'm not having to be super nice to it because ultimately it just grows really well. But we give it a little bit of a haircut. Make sure that it has room to grow as well. I want it to have enough time to grow in the winter time. I don't want to cut this right before a freeze because the ends of it could be in a little bit of shock. And we don't want to do that. You see like this end, I'm giving it a little bit of a cut. And again, it looks better, has a little bit of a roundedness to it. Cutting some of those big pieces. It'd be like if you gave your kid a haircut. If I could cut hair. Trust me, I would not give my child a haircut. If I did that, that child would be bald-headed or maybe have a mohawk and look all crazy. So I take him to get that done. So I can cut rosemary, but I'm not gonna cut your hair. I do always warn them though, if they act all crazy, I might accidentally do it. I'd be like, here you go, you need to cut your hair. No, 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 Dad. They know the deal. So again, I went ahead and trimmed it. It looks pretty good. I got this much in there, which is quite a bit. We're really excited about everything that's gonna be coming out of this. It will dry out. I have at least that much from before, and then we'll let it be. There we go. So I am really, really excited about the herbs that I've gotten today. My tomatoes are not quite ready, so I have to let those be. I'll let you just hear them take you off of here and just go show you around so that you can see like the tomatoes and my planting. Here we go. Let me flip it around so you guys can see the garden. Here we go. So again, right there, this is my whole rosemary bush. Notice the size compared to my house. It's a really good size. My back patio area. This right here is mint. And there's a reason why I kept it in a container. Why? Because it gets really invasive. However, I do have a space by a back fence that I want to put it and see if it will go ahead and grow back there. Because we use it for stomach issues. Of course, this is what you just saw. This is my oregano. And there, we went ahead and fixed all that basil. So, right here is my tomato plants. This is their like second or third harvest. So you notice all the tomatoes in there. They're coming in. I got green ones. I got striped ones. I'm hoping that they change colors before it gets too cold. I put a couple rounds of onions underneath. I've got potatoes. This right here is bell peppers. Again, potatoes, all kinds of things in there. Because once I rip this out, I want something else to go. And actually, I don't rip it out. I cut it at the base. Because I don't want to disturb the soil. As much as possible, I want to leave it the way it is. Okay, there's my wild weed patch. I grow weeds really well, apparently. But here is my sage. I'll pick some of these leaves, but I will leave a lot of these on. Because this little plant had a little bit of a wild year. And it's growing better now. It's getting a little bit more nutrients. I put some peels down there, some coffee grounds, things like that. Just been fertilizing the soil, putting stuff in the soil. Because again, it's hard as a rock. So I want to go ahead and give it more nutrients. I'll put some compost around it this fall. Give it a little bit of some love, and then I'll let it grow back next year. And then I'll cut off anything. So like this part right here was from last year and it didn't grow. So I'll cut that off and let the stuff that does grow stay on. It helps winterize it and grow new leaves and new branches and all of that. I also have a bunch of seed, and this is garlic scapes. I planted these, they were little bitty, and they are growing. These are all seeds. All the top of that is a bunch of seeds. You use those like green onions, so I can put this in fruits and salads and eggs and all of that. So I cut those off, and we'll have to freeze dry some. We'll have to actually like freeze some of them and dry them out, use them for eggs and stuff for this fall. Because again, I'm going to have too many of these everywhere. See all the seeds? I have so many of these. It is wild. Like, I have a ton of these little seeds. And they grow so well in the Oklahoma climate. It's fantastic. I do want to show you one other space. And that is this one. If you notice... Oops, I don't want you to be able to see it with the sun. Look, my bell pepper's changing colors. I'm super excited. I don't know how long I'm going to leave it. I will for a little bit. If it gets to a certain point, I may have to pull it. But I've got one there. I've got one here. I've got one here. Like this plant, I didn't have peppers on here at all. Oh, I got a little friend in there. You see him? There's my little grasshopper friend. As long as he doesn't eat my plants, he can stay there. He eats aphids or other things. I do not spray for bugs. So again, I let them kind of handle their business. And if they handle their business, then I'm happy. They can eat other bugs as long as they get their share, I get mine. That's kind of how I feel about it. It's the equal balance that we're in. So that's been a little bit. I got a couple chores done. I appreciate you guys being with me. I think that's fantastic. I am really, really excited to be looking at what I'm going to do this winter. Winter time for me is going to be planning. I'm going to think about what seeds I'm going to do next year. I do have to do a video yet about the seeds that I've saved, and I'll talk about them and what they are and kind of like what I'm going to be planting next year, because again, I think that's important. I told my boys, and I'll tell you the same thing, the beginning of the year is very unique in the garden. So what happens is I leave dandelions. I let them grow, and I have thousands and thousands of them. If you go back and look at the early gardening videos, I have one that I said I'm a dandelion farmer. Please go watch that. It's fantastic. It's a chance for you to see the thousands of dandelions. What happened was when they showed up, all the bees came in, all the pollinators came in, and then they pollinated my trees. Well, the good thing about that is they created a lot of mulberries. So then I got to pull the mulberries off the trees, and I was cutting them and visiting with you and talking about that. So we got at least, I would say about almost 2 months worth of mulberries to put in yogurt, and the boys eat it and it tastes delicious. And then after that, they were done, and then my other stuff started growing. So there is a rhythm to all of this. Those are early things that happen in my yard. And then after that, this starts to grow, the herbs start to grow, and I get to harvest then. These are about to go dormant and be done, and then I'll probably put in like turnips and radishes and some winter crops and see what happens. I mean, I don't know what works and what doesn't, so I'm going to try it. I've got onions in here. I know the green will last until it freezes. Once that freeze comes, I better cut those green tops off. Then I will pull those onions out, let them dry for a couple weeks, and then put them in my bin, because onions need to be cured for a little bit. I've not done garlic yet. It's something I've thought of, but I need to do it over time, and it takes a while. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I hope you have a chance to sit back, relax with a tea, or maybe you're having an adult beverage and just hang out and watch this, and just go back and check out all the herbs that I did and watch my gardening channel. A lot of those are 1-minute videos. This one's quite a bit longer, but I feel like you can handle it. So thank you so much. Check out my network. It's Future Vision and Growth Network on YouTube, and share with all your friends.